How you guys, how you doing? It's me, Tyrone Irvin, sitting over here in the corner in the polka dots. What's happening with you guys? Hey, you guys, I want to talk about this. Well, I want to talk about some aspects of it, of this, the Revolt Summit. The Revolt Summit held in Atlanta. We had Tamika Mallory, T.I., Killer Mike, a few other people. I forget the lady's name, Katrina. Her last name eludes me right now. And the brother, he had on the yellow shirt with the sweater over the top. Yeah. And so I want to just get into it a little bit. And what I want to talk about my brother T.I., Mr. Harris. And when I'm talking about this, it's not that I'm hating. Slow down. Skirt. It's not hating. It's just a little objective criticism to what I hear him saying. And oftentimes when I make statements, people jump all over me. They jump all over me, but in this particular time, he just happened to say the exact same thing that I be saying. I often say, you know what? They really hate Donald Trump. They pretend to hate Donald Trump. They come out and they just want to act like they want to just give him a good old-fashioned lassoing. But I think behind closed doors, they really like his policies. I think they really benefit from a lot of his policies, especially his tax policies. And when I say it, people be like, shut up, Tyrone. Not Tip. Not Tip. He be protesting. And I always say, you know what? Yeah, he may be, but he's a super capitalist. And so how can he care about poor people? Most of the stuff he says is not well thought out. And I honestly think that he does a lot of this stuff just to get in front of the cameras because he knows what grabs the sentiment of the people. And he knows how to stay popular. But I always say, them policies deep inside, they help him. Not even deep inside right here on the surface. We're going to jump into it a little bit today. All right, you guys, look. Right here we got Tip, Mr. T.I., and he's addressing Candace Owens, and they have been having a debate, a nice little back and forth going on, and then it prompted T.I. to go here. So let me play what T.I. said real quick so you guys can hear what T.I. said.
If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
Okay, let me run that back. Let me run that back again. And my theory is this, and it's not, I say that I really think that they pretend to care about the people. And I'm going to go on to show you why I come to this theory too. But I think they pretend a lot about caring about the people. But when it really boils down to what's really going on in their actions, it doesn't fit what they're saying. I think that a whole lot of this activism is just a popularity contest to keep you engaged with them so they don't lose, that pedestal of who they are. But the physicality of actually being what they are saying, it don't line up. And so I'm going to show you guys, like I said, I'm just going to go through a couple things and show you guys what I mean. Let me get on this again.
You spoke on from opportunity zones.
I love that we're talking about white supremacy. Okay, I'll answer the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and I appreciate. You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Listen. I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
Okay, he appreciates all the tax breaks and all the benefits that come with the opportunity zones. This is what he says out of his own mouth. This isn't me. This isn't me. And what I'm saying is I'm not here right now trying to tell you whether you should be for or against the tax breaks. I'm not trying to lead you in a certain direction on who you should vote for or what policies you should like for yourself. I think that you should go and search those things out for yourself. But what I am saying is that a lot of these celebrities are very, very inconsistent, and T.I. is one of them because he's out here fighting for the people, right? He's fighting for the poor people. He's fighting for the black people. He said, that's what he's doing. He's fighting for the black people, the poor black people, the disenfranchised, the black people that can't afford the equality or can't get treated with equality. He's fighting for those people, yet he absolutely loves the Donald Trump tax breaks. Loves them. He can't complain about them. He will never say anything bad about the economic things that the Republicans are doing. So what he does is jump on the race thing.
We're talking about white supremacy.
Okay,
I'll answer the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks.
I will never, not sometimes. He didn't say I won't like them if they disproportionately hurt my people. He didn't say that. He said I will never get mad at the tax breaks. Here, I don't know. You say it yourself.
Party. I'm a rich person, and
You
I
white folk
appreciate.
rich.
You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Yeah, I dig it.
Listen, I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
He appreciates it, you guys. And so here, I'm going to get into this, and I'm going to show you guys why I think it's quite strange that he appreciates those things and how it does not line up with what he's talking about. It doesn't line up with the activism that he's preaching. For one, he says he's a progressive. Earlier in this, Killer Mike says that him and T.I. were progressives, and T.I. didn't interject. He didn't say anything. He's posing as a progressive, but a progressive who loves a regressive tax policy towards poor people. And I'm going to get into that. So let's take a little quick adventure over here into article land. Dun, 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 dun. What do we have here? I went over to Vox. I said, you know what? Let me see. Now let's see. Let's see what Mr. Harris says over here. One more time. And look, and I'm going to start you guys off, and I'm going to read the byline, the headline of this article. It's a Vox article, and I think Vox is a progressive or a Democrat, or if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to have to go look that up, but I found an article good, and I cross-checked it with other articles, and sometimes with the articles, you got to get the facts and just go with the facts, all right? And so I cross-referenced it with other articles, which I will show you guys, just so you guys know. And the headline says, how the Republican tax laws hurt the poor and help the rich in one chart. All right? How the Republican tax laws hurt the poor and help the rich in one chart.
You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
And I could dig it because, as T.I. says, he's rich. He's rich, all right? But if that hurts the same people that you say you're fighting for, then how are you fighting for them? This is what I would like to know, all right? Here in one chart is how Americans of different income will be helped or hurt by the tax cuts of the Job Act 2017, the Republican tax cut / reform bill signed into law by President Donald Trump. Okay? And like I said, this is something that T.I. is elated about. He's not disappointed. He's not angry. You know, he said he will never be mad at Republicans for what they do with tax reform, okay? Here, let me go down a little bit. Let me stroll so I can show you what I'm looking at. Okay, in this chart right here, the chart, it goes from the lowest quintile to the top percent, which to the top 1.1%, and it shows the disparities observed after tax income, okay? It's the TCJA increases, disparities in observed after tax income, okay? Percent change in observed after tax income 2025. All right? And in this chart, it shows that the lowest quintile actually loses money, while the top percentile actually gains, pay less. All right? Let me go into this a little bit and tell you guys what the article say. It says right here, let me clear my throat. Said, made by the Washington Center for Equitable Growth, economist Greg Learson, the chart shows the law effects in 2025, when the cuts in the law are still being implemented and haven't expired. The richest Americans, those in the 95th percentile and above, meaning they earn $308,900 or more income, more come the year 2025, do very well, seeing a boost of 3% to their after-tax income. So they're saying after tax, they'll see a boost of 3% of their after-tax income. All right? That's primarily a result of a reduction in their individual income tax, the rates, and big cuts to tax on corporations, which are disproportionately owned by wealthy individuals. But the very poorest of Americans seem to fall after their tax income that is almost as large. Okay, so what they're saying is that the poor, they see a fall in their tax income that's almost as large as the gain that the rich get. All right. That is almost entirely the result of the law's repeal of the Affordable Care Act's individual mandate. That Congressional Budget Office has estimated that repealing the mandate will lead to 13 million fewer having insurance over the course of the decade. Okay. Wow. All right. With much of that reduction coming after the poorest Americans eligible for Medicaid. Few people are signed up for Medicare, and subsidized Obama coverage means lower effective incomes for poor Americans. All right. And again, you guys, here, let me see what we got right here. We got Mr. Harris saying.
All of the things that you spoke on, from opportunity zones.
I love that we're talking about white supremacy.
Okay,
I'll answer the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
Hey, he said it himself. It's not something I'm saying. I'm not just going out here saying, you know what? And again, this isn't something that I dislike. I don't dislike him. I don't like the stuff that he says and the stuff that he does as an activist, because it doesn't seem well thought out, and it seems very, 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 very contradictory. It seems very contradictory. Let me come over here. I got a few things that I want to show you guys today. Oh, yeah, I got a few things that I want to show you guys today. You dig? Okay, T.I. in this panel, they are talking about what is good and what is bad for the African American community, for black people, right? And T.I. stands for black people. T.I. is an advocate for black people. Some people are calling him a leader, and some people are saying he's on the forefront. T.I., he's always saying something, but listen to what he's saying.
All of the things that you spoke on, from opportunity zones.
I love that we're talking about white supremacy.
Okay,
I'll answer the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and I appreciate. You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Hey, listen. I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
All right, you guys. What we're gonna do is we're gonna move on over to this article. Get over here to it right here. It says, Trump's tax cuts law to disproportionately affect minorities. All right? Now remember, T.I. just said that he will never complain. He will never be mad at the Republicans for their tax policies and their opportunity zone opportunities. He'll never be mad at them. All right? And so what that means is he won't be mad at them when the tax cuts disproportionately affect minorities. Let me get into this. This is an article from the Center for Public Integrity, okay? And one more again, the article, the headline is Trump's Tax Cuts Law to Disproportionately Affect Minorities. The byline says, wealth disparities between whites and minorities is expected to increase. It's expected to increase. And what does Mr. Harris have to say about that? What do you got to say, T.I.?
All of the things that you spoke on, from opportunity zones.
I love that we're talking about white supremacy. Okay, I'll answer the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may.
Okay, what you got to say? Say it. What you got to say?
You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
All right. He will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits and tax breaks that come from the Republican Party, even if, and I'm adding the even if part, but if he'll never complain about it, if it'll never make him mad or it'll never bother him, well, this is a part of said policies in which he's in agreement with in total. Okay? It says, when President Donald Trump last year signed into law the biggest tax overhaul in 3 decades, many experts concluded it was clear that most of the cuts went to the wealthy. Less clear was that the cuts disproportionately favor whites over minorities. A gulf that will likely worsen a century-old economic divide between races. And see, what I'm wondering is, and the only reason I'm doing this is I'm saying because they have him out here like he's speaking for black people in general. And I wonder, do he ever read any of this data before he goes on saying the stuff that he says? Does he even know that these tax cuts that he support disproportionately hurts minorities, the same black people that he's fighting for? Because there's two things. If he knows it, he's full of it. And if he doesn't know it, he shouldn't be up there in this forum talking like this. All right. Let me get back to it. The Tax Cuts and Job Act signed by Trump last December cut the income tax rate across the board for large corporations and many small business and partnerships. Individuals receive tax preferences in the form of a temporary increase in the child tax credit and standard deductions. They also received a temporary reduction in individual income tax. Keyword, temporary. For the regular people, temporary, all right? But over the next few years, the cuts become less generous for those earning the least, and that disproportionately affects minorities far more than whites. according to tax expert and Center for Public Integrity analysts using Census Bureau data. Okay, and now they're revolutionary. They fight. He's fighting for the blacks. He's fighting against white supremacy. Everything is, we're fighting white supremacy. But as he's fighting white supremacy, he is out here applauding.
And I appreciate, you dig what I'm saying?
Negro rich.
Hey, listen, I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
He appreciates all of the opportunity zone benefits and all of the tax breaks. How does that make any sense? He appreciates the things that a lot of people say are a big part of the same white supremacy he's fighting over. This is going to widen the economic gap between whites and blacks, but he's all for it because it helps him personally. It doesn't help blacks as a whole, but they act like they want to help blacks as a whole. This hurts blacks as a whole. And I'm not telling you what side of the tax issue to stand, but I'm just going to go off of some data and some numbers so we could clearly see what is going on around here. You dig? What is going on around here? Says lawmakers should have been mindful of the fact that when writing the law, said Julie Solad, director of Masters of Accountancy and Taxation program at Rutgers University. The Tax Act largely and disproportionately helps Caucasians at the possible expense of those who are non-Caucasian. The first, look, it helps Caucasians at the expense, possibly at the expense of non-Caucasians. And let's say this is all just a possibility. But if it's a possibility that it will hurt your people and you feel like this.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may.
And you say this.
You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
So he will never say anything negative about tax breaks that hurt the exact same people that he is literally on this stage pretending to be advocating for. The same things in everything, and this is why I say it. I know white supremacy is real, but watch out for the people who are feeding it to you, because he's constantly feeding you the effects of white supremacy while he's encouraging the effects of white supremacy. He is literally encouraging it. He is applauding tax breaks that reportedly could hurt minorities and poor black people. The same people in which he is advocating for. And again, that's why I say I'm not trying to tell you to feel this way about the tax cuts or feel the other way about the tax cuts. I'm saying if it's even a possibility, if it's a grave possibility that it is harming your people, if there are economic and data points that show that this is hurting your community, and you still applaud it, and that's why I say I think deep in his heart, he's really a Donald Trump supporter. I think the activism is just something to do. It's just something to keep him popular. And it's not that I'm hating him. I like him as a rapper. But as an activist, maybe he's more of an organizer. Maybe you could use that popularity you have to organize people to do things that a real intellectual or a real leader in that area with knowledge, to organize them to help that person. Organize them to help that person. But organizing people for bootleg protests that have no legs, no standing, don't mean anything, and wouldn't do anything just to stay relevant, or just to seem like you're some pseudo intellectual or thing of that nature, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm just trying to lay out why. Because again, what I'm trying to say to you is, like I said, these are not my words.
If I may.
I'm not saying this.
You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and I appreciate. You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Hey, listen, I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
All right, that's not me saying that. He appreciates all those tax benefits and the tax breaks, and I'm not saying he shouldn't. But what I'm saying is, when you got this act like you're
we'll address it.
you're super pro everything black, you hate white supremacy, you can't stand Donald Trump, you can't stand him, but the things that appeal to you are the financial aspects of what he's doing. Just like I say about a lot of Caucasian people, I feel, or rich people in general, that are voting for him just because it helps them financially. You are parroting their exact sentiments, but at the same time, you stand for poor black people, but the thing that you are touting actually hurts black people, poor black people. The same way you rap about spending a whole bunch of money on Gucci, but I'm not going to talk about that. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Says right here, the Tax Act largely and disproportionately helps Caucasians at the possible expense of those who are non-Caucasian. So that I said, Republicans didn't have an agenda of how do we hurt non-Caucasians, but Congress should be proactive in trying to reform the tax code in a way that doesn't perpetuate or worsen income inequality, he added. And of course, they think about that, but they don't want to introduce it into a think tank or try to process those thoughts before pushing through the legislation, because they're benefiting from this. Just like T.I., who proudly is for it. The breakdown of tax cuts by race has implications for the upcoming midterm elections and for proposed additional tax cuts Republicans say they want to enact this fall. Additional, all right? Earlier this year, Republicans seemed to feel that the cuts in last December's the tax law would increase their chances of victory in November's election. But the enthusiasm has since waned. So now many Republicans want to pass more tax cuts in the upcoming months, hoping that it could further bolster their election process, said Trump in July that any new tax legislation passed this fall will be more aimed at the middle class. All right? So he says. And again, T.I. is all for this. What does this say right here? It says minorities get less. Starting next year, every income group will see their average tax rates drop. But these rates for the super wealthy, those earning more than $200,000 a year, will decrease between 2.1 and 3.1% of their income, compared to 0.5% for those earning less than $30,000, according to the Joint Committee of Taxation. Okay. All right. And so let me go over that. So the rates for the super wealthy will decrease, okay? While the rates on the poor will increase, all right? So that ain't too much, that ain't too hard to break down right there, all right? Not too hard to break down. That's pretty understandable right there. This is data. I'm not making this up. For later years, the disparities only become bigger. Between 2019 and 2025, many Americans earning less than $30,000 will see their taxes increase until their effective rates are actually as much as 0.7% points more than if the tax law had not passed, according to the JCT. The wealthy will continue to pay at a lower rate, as much as 1.5 percentage points lower. Okay? And so they're saying if they didn't do anything to the taxes, by the time that this tax plan hits all the way, that people making under $30,000 will be paying 0.7 more in taxes than they would have been paying if nothing with the tax plan never happened at all. All right? All right? That's not only a bad deal for the poor. It has disproportionate impact on blacks and Hispanics. Nearly 40% of blacks' households earn less than $30,000. So, he advocates for black people, but he loves this tax cut. He loves this tax cut. Once again, it's not me who's saying this.
If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
All right? So it's not me who's saying that. It's not me. I ain't put them in his mouth. For everybody who's going to say, you're just talking bad. You're just mad. Because I'm not mad. I am a little bit passionate because it does bother me when people listen to what certain people say and they listen to it with closed eyes but an open heart. You have closed eyes, closed brain, and an open heart when you can open your eyes, open your brain, and your heart at the same time, but study it first. He's fighting for minorities. He's fighting for especially the poor black man, the poor black people. He's fighting against white supremacy, but he is 100% for something that is hurting 40% of black households. 40%. And that's who earn less than $30,000. It's hurting people who earn more than that, and black people fall in those categories as well. The lower percentile. Okay? Get back to it. The wealthy will retain slightly lower rates after 2025, mostly because benefits from the permanent corporate tax cut, which will increase some kinds of income, such as dividends. Okay, so it'll increase income such as dividends. Some of the biggest tax cuts in 2025 are for those earning more than $75,000, with rate reductions between 0.6% and 1.5% of income. According to JCT, about 44% of white Americans earn this amount, compared with 24% of blacks and 30% of Hispanics, according to the center's analysis. All right. And so basically, they're saying that the income gap is just only going to widen. It's only going to widen. All right, let me look at that again. The wealthy will retain a slightly lower rate after 2025, mostly because benefits from the permanent corporate tax cuts, which will increase some kinds of income, such as dividends. So it's going to increase. All right. It's going to increase income of dividends. So the money that they're getting from dividends will go up. All right. Some of the biggest tax cuts in 2025 are for those earning more than $75,000 with a rate reduction. So they're going to get a rate reduction between 0.6% and 1.5% on income. All right. The only problem with that is is 44% of white people earn that amount of money, compared to 24% of blacks and 30% of Hispanics, which means it's going to help white people more than it's going to help blacks and Hispanics. But he is out here fighting against white supremacy? I don't know. It don't make any sense. And something else while I'm right here looking at this that jumps out in my eyeballs, it might be another show, another conversation for another day. But for households that earn less than $30,000, black people earn less than Hispanic households as well. 30% of Hispanic households make $30,000 or less a year. Okay. Make sure I'm reading this right. Yeah. 30% of Hispanics make $30,000 or less a year. And black people, 40% make less than $30,000 per year. So in the percentage, there's a bigger percentage of black people who make $30,000 a year than Hispanic people, and a far bigger percentage than white people. And so what it's doing is widening the wealth gap. It's widening the wealth gap. All right? Bring this chart over just a little bit so you guys can see what I'm looking at over here. Try to make it a little bigger. A little bigger. A little bigger. Let me see. Let me take it. I'm going to sit T.I. over here. I'm going to sit him right here so you guys could see the chart. Let me hear him one more time. What you say about them tax cuts, T.I.?
Opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
All right. Now, what are we getting from those tax breaks? All right. What are the benefits to the people that you are fighting for? All right. Okay, it says white people more likely to be wealthy. Percentage of race and ethnic groups by income level. All right. And so the blue stands for black people. The yellow is for Hispanics. The red is for whites. In this chart right here. And look. If you look right here, this chart is very telling. All right. So let me go down on the chart a little bit. I'm trying to scoot over here so I can show you guys. Okay, so white people more likely to be wealthy. Okay, so for white people to have less than $10,000 to make less than $10,000 a year, whites have the least chance of making less than $10,000 a year. Hispanics are after that, and black people have the highest chance of making less than $10,000 a year. And watch how the chart, how it crisscrosses and blacks go to the bottom. So yeah, up here, black people are winning when it comes to less than $10,000 a year, winning when it comes to being less than $20,000 a year, winning when it comes down to having less than $30,000 a year. Now, when it comes to having $30,000 to $40,000 a year, Hispanics go over blacks, and blacks, we keep going down. We keep going down. And then it ends up crossing at about $50,000 a year. You see? And it's a very interesting chart. So at $50,000 a year, from 50 to 75,000, blacks are in last place. So we were in first place when it came to having the least amount of money. Now we're in last place when it comes to having the most money. All right. And if you come over here to the end where it says 100,000 and over, you have white people clearly at the top, 30%. You got Hispanics over here around 18%. Then blacks down here at around 12%. All right. Now let's see, it says Wealthy get bigger tax breaks and tax cuts. And so let's look at this chart. We got the percentages on the side. It goes from -1% to 4%. We have the color chart again, and the color chart is by year. 2019, 2021, 2023, 2025. 2025 is in purple. 23 is in yellow. 21 is in green. 19 is in blue. So it's showing the wealthy getting bigger tax breaks, all right? So the wealthy are getting bigger tax breaks as time goes on. All right? So as time goes on, when you get over here to the 100,000 and over, their taxes are going down. So their taxes went down more than in other years. And so it's showing the year. You guys see? So as time goes on, the tax goes down more for wealthy people. So wealthy people are going to do better. And what it showed up here is that wealthy people are majority Caucasian. So over time, majority of Caucasians or a majority of wealthy people whom are Caucasians are going to get better tax breaks than poor people. Okay? Now here, let me scoot this over a little bit. Now I do remember Mr. T.I. being a staunch supporter of President Obama. And that's part of the reason why he don't like Trump so much. And like I said, this isn't about whether you should like Trump or dislike Trump. I'll leave that completely up to you. All I'm saying is certain things certain people say are very hypocritical. Obamacare impact. Severe factors will cause taxes to increase for low-wage earners, said Thomas Barthold, a chief staff at the JTC. For instance, using a lower inflation rate index to annually adjust the standard deduction and the tax credit for the poor will increase taxes for the low and middle income individual. All right? So again, it's going to increase taxes for the poor and low class individual. Now I get it, Tip, I get it. It's not gonna hurt you. And look,
you talk about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
Okay? Never have a complaint about the tax benefits from the Republican Party. All right? And again, and a lot of them tax breaks come from things that they have to repeal and take away, and services that are going to help poor people. All right? All right. And again, you guys can come back and you can read this article. I'll show you where you can get this part article just in case you want to read it yourself. It was in the Huffington Post, and it's from the Center for Public Integrity. All right. And since they're progressive, since T.I. said he was a progressive, I went to the progressives to see what the tax breaks did to minorities. And the progressives say that tax breaks are hurting the minorities. And T.I. says he's a progressive. So if he's hurting something that's hurting progressives or that's going against the cause of progressives, is he really a progressive? I'm going to take you guys over here and we could look at, yet again, going to look at another article. See what's going on. See what's really happening. All right? See what's happening. Let me scroll up, make sure you guys can see my source. This is from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. All right? Make sure you guys got that in your screen over there. Here. Let me move this part over here so you guys can see. Now let me put him right here. Right here. I don't want you guys to forget that. This little gem of what he is saying. Again, it can't be blamed on somebody else. You can't say somebody's hating or putting words in somebody's mouth or not being factually accurate on what the man is saying. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do it. You can't say, oh, well, you guys are just trying to make him look bad, or why every time somebody says something, you got to tear him down. I'm not tearing him down at all. What I'm really doing is just showing what he's saying really don't make a lot of sense when you say.
You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
All right. And what I am showing you is how them benefits and them tax breaks hurt minorities, hurt black people. Okay. The same people who he's out there trying to fight for, I guess. And again, let me say this. Let's say all of this stuff that I'm reading is not 100% accurate. Let's say it's wrong. But if it's a big possibility that is hurting your people, why would you still be so adamant about applauding it and shaking hands and announcing how proud you are and how you will never complain about the Republican tax cuts? All right. And right here, this says cuts to low-income assistance programs in President Trump's 2020 budget are wide-ranging. And I know I'm talking about taxes, and this says budget. Let me show you why. The Trump administration budget plans for fiscal year 2020 mirrors last year's in the massive tax cuts it proposes for core public services that help struggling individuals and families afford the basics and access health care. So it's saying it takes away from families who don't make a lot of money from getting just basic necessities and access to health care. Okay, it goes on to say, although Congress has previously rejected many of these proposals, the budget merits attention. Given the administration's continuous push for these priorities and the scope of the damage of the budget will do. All right, so it's saying that they're saying that this budget might do some damage. And I'm going to show you how it ties into T.I. just loving them tax breaks. He loves them. I'm loving it. All right. The president budget reflects the direction in which the administration wants to take the country through both legislative and executive actions. Indeed, while the budget calls to repeal the Affordable Care Act, ACA, and cut Medicaid deeply, likely won't be on the congressional agenda this year, the administration has moved forward with administrative actions that advance some of the same goals on a more limited scale. All right. So it's saying that even though it might not pass the House, they're going to take some executive actions to get some things through anyway. And I'm about to show you guys, I'm not going to get off subject. This is to show you guys how it ties in to taxes, because I want to show you guys how the tax cuts take away programs from the same people that T.I. is trying to say he's fighting for, but he loves the tax cuts. So here, let me tie this in. The budget's major themes are perhaps nowhere clearer than its proposal to extend beyond 2025 the costly 2017 tax cuts that have given large windfalls to high-income individuals and highly profitable corporations, even as the budget calls for cutting $1 trillion over the next decade from entitlements, mandatory programs that help low and moderate income households. And so in order for them to get them tax cuts, they had to cut programs for low and moderately low income earners. Okay? So for look, what you say, T.I.?
Rich person, and
You
I
white folk
appreciate.
rich.
You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Hey, listen. I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
All right. And so, yeah, he appreciates all the tax breaks and all the zones, the opportunity zones. So, of course he does. But is that good for the same people that he's out here advocating for? He got that whole crowd whipped up. And look, what gets to me is they didn't even notice it. They didn't say anything about it. They didn't boo him. See, and this is the thing about bias sometimes. They're biased for T.I., so T.I. can say whatever BS he wants, and they're not even going to get it. But they'll boo anybody else who goes counter to whatever narrative that he puts out there. And his stage presence, by crossing your arms and wagging your neck side to side and rolling your eyes and sitting back and having the attitude, is going to make the crowd feed into what you're doing, because they're already a sympathetic crowd to what he is saying. They are already a sympathetic crowd to what the man is saying. And so what I'm trying to say, and that's how I tied it in to the tax cuts. The budget, they had to cut programs from the budget for those tax cuts. They had to hurt the poor to help the rich. And T.I. is all for it. All right? All right? Here, let me go down. It's going to tell you some of the things and some of the effects that the tax breaks have on the less fortunate. Okay? It says, proposed to cut SNAP, formerly food stamps, by $22 billion, or about 30% over the next 10 years. The budget would dramatically restructure how SNAP benefits are delivered, taking away food choices, imposing new food access hurdles for almost 90% of SNAP participants. Other benefits and eligibility cuts would cause at least 4 million to lose SNAP benefits altogether. The cuts would affect every category of SNAP participant, including the unemployed, the elderly, and individuals with disabilities in low-income working families with children. So it's going to hurt everybody who he's saying he's trying to help. And as we read in the last article, especially minorities. Especially minorities. And so you out here fighting white supremacy by hurting the same people that you're helping? How can you hurt somebody and help them at the same time? That doesn't make any sense. I think you're hurting more because the hurt you're doing is silent. People don't know that you're just playing games. You just, you're an activist. Say it again.
All of the things that you spoke on, from opportunity zones.
I love that we're talking about white supremacy.
Okay,
I'll answer the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and I appreciate. You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Hey, listen. I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
All right. Proposed to tax cut funding in 2020 for the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, by $9.7 billion, or 18%, including significant cuts in the rental assistance for low-income households. Once again, hurting the people who don't have a lot to help the people who have a lot. And I know people have different feelings on HUD and entitlement programs or this or that, but that's a whole different debate. What I am saying right here is the people who he acts like he's out here fighting for and trying to protect are the same people who he's hurting by being so happy about these policies. But he's fighting white supremacy. He hates Donald Trump, right? Right. Wink, 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 wink. No, they just keep you in a state of anger, because that keeps them on the forefront of your mind. You go buy albums, you go take trips to the Trap Museum. You listen to them when they say things on social media. It keeps them relevant because right now when you say certain things, of course, it affects us. And they realize what affects us and they just tap into those things and figure out a way to monetize it. So they monetizing it on both sides. They perpetuate a certain amount of dislike for a person, but in my opinion, they really like this person. And in his opinion, he really likes his policies, the policies that help the rich. The same policies that disproportionately hurt people who look just like him. Let me go on. Talking about HUD. All right? It says that includes cutting funding to operate, maintain, and repair public housing by 60% and eliminating house choice vouchers for 140,000 households. All right? It would also repurpose a policy that will raise rents by an average of 44% on 4 million low-income households now receiving an assistance and take benefits away from people judged not to have met work requirements. So they're going to say if you ain't met these work requirements, your rent is going up 44% on 4 million people. And the majority of those people, the biggest percentage of those people are, drum roll please, drum roll, please. The same poor people, the same disenfranchised black people that he's out here fighting white supremacy for. He's fighting white supremacy and loving it at the same time.
You're talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party.
Fighting white supremacy and loving it at the same time. All right. Go down here. It says budget prioritizes tax cuts while slicing basic assistance, health care, and non-defense discretionary programs. You guys see what I'm saying? And so the same people that you're hurting, that you're helping, you're hurting. You're hurting. Non-defense discretional funds will fall after 2019 under the 2020 Trump budget. And again, the reason why that budget is important is they did all those slashes in the budget so they could give tax cuts. The tax cuts that T.I. love. The tax cuts that hurt the people that he's supposed to be advocating for. How can somebody be advocating for you if they like something that hurts you? How? Look, Trump's 2020 budget proposed deep and growing cuts to Medicaid and ACA marketplace subsidies. Look at these cuts. $200 billion less. All right. And we're talking about health care. And again, let's say, because I know somebody's going to say, well, some of those numbers are fudged, Tyrone. You can make anything, say whatever you want. But what I'm saying is if these things are a big possibility, shouldn't he at least do some research before just wholesale saying how much he loves it, but at the same time want to tell people how much he's fighting for poor black people and fighting for black people while at the same time clapping, cheering for millions of people now? Because I'm not going off the people who was just in there. I'm going off the millions of people who have watched that forum. Okay? And this is somebody you want to put on the forefront of leadership, but never pay attention to what he say. Take Medicare away from people who don't meet work requirements. What else does it do? Increase red tape for Medicare beneficiaries. Requiring documentation of immigration status before coverage takes effect. Increasing premiums for low and moderate income marketplace enrollees. Oh, man. Oh, man. Would it make it harder for struggling families to put food on the table? Let's see. What does it say about this? In the 2020 budget, would cut SNAP by 220 billion, or about 30%. Over the next 10 years, it will impose large benefit cuts to most households, even though current benefits average $1.40 per person per meal, and would dramatically restructure how benefits are delivered. It includes other benefits and eligibility cuts as well. They would cause at least 4 million people to lose SNAP benefits altogether. The cut would affect every category of SNAP participants, including the unemployed, the elderly, the individuals with disabilities, and low-income working families with children. Okay? In this area, the budget would shift more than $260 billion in food purchasing from individual households to the government. And they're doing that in order to give tax breaks to rich people. All right? They're doing that in order to give tax breaks for the rich people. And let's say you're going to say, well, there are people who fleece those entitlement programs. It's people that scam those programs. Well, there's a lot of rich people who scam on their taxes. It's a lot of rich people who scam and steal money as well. I'm sure they steal more money as a whole than poor people do, because poor people don't have access to the type of money that they have. And again, I'm not here to tell you how to feel about the policy. I'm not here to tell you how to feel about the tax cut. I'm not here to tell you how to feel at all. I'm just here to make you aware that some of the people that get out here and put on the activist hat and be raising all this hoopla and blah, blah, and yah, they just be talking. So again, you guys, I just wanted to go over and show you guys some empirical data from a few different agencies. And here, I don't even want to call it empirical. I just want to say data, because all data needs to be cross-referenced. All data need to be checked. But I did see a poll. The majority of African Americans, the majority of black people, Moors, indigenous people, whatever way that you want to classify it, call us, whatever, were in agreement that the Donald Trump tax plan was bad for poor black people. Okay? All right? And so, I could go on and on and on and on and on with this. And in fact, I would encourage you guys to cross-reference and check anything that I'm reading and saying. So let me go up to the top so you guys can see what it is. What it is. Check me so I don't wreck me. You got to check yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself. Because believing BS is bad for your health. Chickity check. Center on budget and policy priorities. You guys just go check that out yourself. Check that out yourself. And again, Mr. Harris, one more time, just so nobody can say that I'm putting words in your mouth. Once again, tell the people how you feel, Mr. Harris.
You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and I appreciate. You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Listen. I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
Man, oh man, oh man, and I get it. He appreciates it. And hey, if I was super filthy rich, I don't know how I would feel. I think I would still wouldn't mind. I don't think I would laud it or applaud it from everything that I've been reading. Now, this is my own personal feelings. I don't think that I would applaud it, because although it might help me personally, I know it disproportionately affects a lot of people. It disproportionately hurts more people than it helps. And people who look just like me and who look just like him. That's why I get confused over the support, and I'm also confused that Nobody noticed. Nobody in the crowd said a word. In fact, they like, woo! People were like applauding and happy that he is saying he likes something that probably disproportionately affects most of the people who were in that room. But just because who he is, the brain closes and the ears close and nothing else really matters. That confuses me. I don't get it, you guys. That confuses me. Here, let me ask the panel. Hey, do y'all understand this? I have to come back over to the panel and ask them if they understand it, because. And another thing that I noticed is it seemed like T.I. was so willing to go at Candace Owens, but he wasn't willing to go at Killer Mike when he would say the exact same thing as Candace Owens, even sometimes coming to her defense, agreeing with her, even in one instance answering a question for her that he threw at her is like one of those, let me get the crowd behind me, this is going to be on the news, and everybody's going to be saying this, and what about Make America Great Again? And Candace Owens had a very lackluster answer for it, and the crowd just full lockstep just agreed with whatever T.I. said. But when Killer Mike said the same exact thing, nobody had anything to say. Nobody said a word, you guys. And then look, it even makes me wonder here. Let me go over here and let me play something else. Let me play something else, because like I said, I think deep in their heart, I think they really, I think he's going to go vote for Donald Trump. I think he just can't afford to go tell you guys that. He can't afford to go let everybody know, hey, my name is T.I. Tip Harris, and I'm about to go vote for Donald Trump, because he knows the community would be mad at him, because this narrative has already been pumped. And again, I'm not telling you, this is not a pro or anti-Donald Trump thing at all. This is more or less about people telling you that they believe in some things and that they're fighting for you, but they're out here actually physically doing the opposite. I mean, come on, is it a pump fake? Because if you're fighting for black people, when you're fighting for disenfranchised poor black people, when you're all about this and you're all about equality, but you love something that's hurting the people you're fighting for. And again, and this is my thing, even with Candace Owens, I really think that he agreed with a lot of what she says, but I think he has to act like he don't. And here, let me tie that in one time for your mind.
We must understand when we're talking about opportunity zone, and we're giving the credit to the person who pushed that legislation forward, which it started with Tim Scott, a black man who happens to be a Republican.
Started with Tim Scott, a black man that happened to be a Republican, right? That pushed it into legislation that T.I. says wrote it in the legislation. Again, let me play that for you guys one more time for your mind, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about Tim Scott, because he says it like, you know, like it's a good thing. It was a black man who wrote it in the legislation. It was a black man named Tim Scott, and we're gonna talk about Tim Scott.
We must understand when we're talking about opportunity zone, and we're giving the credit to the person who pushed that legislation forward, which it started with Tim Scott, a black man who happens to be a Republican out of South Carolina. That's who wrote the legislation and presented it.
That's who wrote the legislation and presented it. All right? Okay. And like I said, I hear what he's saying. He's talking about Tim Scott writing it and presenting it and being a black man. And maybe that's why he's behind it, because it was a black man who wrote the legislation. All right, let me let Tim Scott speak for himself so you guys could get a sense of who Tim Scott is.
President Trump is not a racist, and the facts are very simple, that the same folks that voted for me voted for President Trump because...
All right, hey, let me run that back for you guys again, because I think, look, a lot of the reason that he says he doesn't like Candace Owens is because he says she's an apologist for Donald Trump, because she won't just say that Donald Trump is racist. But then when it came down to the brother that signed that good old tax cut, when he signed that good old tax bill, that good old Tim Scott, now he was a brother. So I guess we're supposed to applaud Tim Scott, right? But Tim Scott says the exact same thing as Candace Owens. Mr. Scott, say it again.
President Trump is not a racist, and the facts are very simple. That the same folks that voted for me voted for President Trump because President Trump made promises to the voters and he's keeping the promises. So without any question, if you look at his legacy, it will be his accomplishments in office, frankly, helping in many, many ways African Americans. Think about the fact that we've all heard about how low the African American unemployment is, the lowest recorded in the history of the country. But more importantly, a racist would never talk about criminal justice reform and how the benefits disproportionately help African American men.
Doesn't that sound just like Candace Owens?
President Trump signed that legislation into law. You would never hear a racist talk about opportunity zones and how he came on board full throttle because he wanted to help poor, disadvantaged communities. Most of them are consistently African American and Hispanic.
Don't that sound just like Candace Owens?
You would not ever hear a racist. Never would you hear a racist talk about providing more research authority and more resources towards sickle cell anemia, a disease that impacts disproportionately African Americans in this country, and yet President Trump signed that legislation.
Doesn't that sound just like Candace Owens?
You smell, not hear, but smell, is fear. What you smell is fear on the left. They have been consistently using the race card. Every single time there's a presidential run, you'll hear John McCain, racist. Mitt Romney, racist. Ronald Reagan, racist. George Bush, racist. W, racist. Why do they continue?
That's the exact same thing that Candace Owens said, that everybody booed, shook their head, but T.I. likes Tim Scott and Tim Scott says it. So where's the consistency? That's my point.
Define that narrative because they understand that the lowest common denominator in politics is fear and division. President Trump has been able to deliver policies that have promoted, encouraged, and inspired growth in the African American community economically in a way that no president has done in the last 40 years.
Well, this president. All right. You dig? You dig? All right. Now, look, that ain't me. I didn't make that up, y'all. So, again, he's so against Candace Owens. But he agrees with a lot of the same things that Candace Owens agrees with. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like to me. All right. So he completely disassociates himself with Donald Trump. A complete dissociation, right? He don't know.
There's a way for us to build this nation and move us forward. And as President of the United States, there are things that you can do to be helpful.
And there he is right there. Oh, that's when they signed that tax cut bill. That day. Right there. You see who's standing behind him? Your boy. Your boy. The one and only Donald Trump. And so that's why I say Tim Scott and Candace Owens are one and the same. They parrot the exact same things. They believe in the exact same things. So T.I. don't like Candace Owens, but he does like Tim Scott. Oh, no, he respects Tim Scott because Tim Scott wrote, he pushed the tax cut, which helps T.I., which hurts the same people that T.I. is advocating for. But you don't hear me, though, right? I'm the wrong one. I just don't get it, you guys. I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. Let me see. What else I got right here for you? For thine eyes to see. For thine eyes to see. You dig? Yeah, let me see. Let me see. What we got right here? Let me show y'all a little something. Bring it up on the screen. What that say right there? And you know, Tim Scott, he's always on Fox News. It says Senator Scott hits back at Dems calling Trump racist, right? Who does that sound like? Do that sound like that would be a headline for, say, Candace Owens? Am I wrong? Am I wrong or am I wrong? You guys see, and like I said, what I showed earlier with T.I. talking about how much he'll never complain about what the Republicans do when it comes to tax cuts and opportunity zones, is because he's rich. I get it. I understand he's rich, but I don't understand the fact that he don't just come out and tell people like, hey, man, look, I like a lot of his policies. You know what? I might not like some of the things that he says, but it is what it is. But he make it like he wholesale hate Donald Trump and everything about Donald Trump. But in real all actuality, he benefits from Donald Trump being. All right, now look, a little bit later on in the panel discussion, the debate, the presentation, whatever it is that you want to classify it as or talk about it. And matter of fact, this is on the same string of conversation as the other couple clips that I've been showing throughout this. And so T.I. does go on and he talks a little bit more about the opportunity zones and who can and cannot benefit from said opportunity zones. And T.I. makes a great point. Make that point, T.I. Let's hear it.
The present president, if you can call him that, he did allow it to go through. But that had to, in order to benefit from opportunity zones, you have to have capital gains taxes.
Which is very true. In order to benefit, you have to have capital gains taxes, which poor people don't get. But T.I. lobbies for these opportunity zones. So, all right.
It ain't many black people in these opportunity zones
they
that have capital gains taxes.
And you notice the crowd like he whipping it up and they getting excited and yeah, rah, rah, rah. All right.
Be able to reap the benefits of these things. Therefore, it will be billionaire corporations, other people who ain't from these communities coming in here building shit that we don't need, doing shit that don't help us, but they do that so they can shelter their taxes. Now, I've been investing in opportunity zones all my motherfucking life. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be damned if anybody gonna benefit from it and it ain't gonna be me. So, but I actually know that.
In other words, white people can't come benefit from it if it hurts you, but I can benefit from it if it hurts you. Just like them tax cuts. It might hurt you, but I love them.
Of the community. You have these systems in place, but the people who have the most ability to take advantage and who are readily able to take advantage are the people who have absolutely no genuine interest to do anything to support the community that they're coming into. There's no real tangible investment. They're just doing it to shelter their tax dollars.
All right. And I hear him and I agree with that. They have no tangible value when it comes to actually helping people in the neighborhoods that they put in these, that they're putting these, or the people that can't afford opportunity zones won't benefit from opportunity zones. And the people who can afford from opportunity zones don't give a damn about the poor people. All right. And I agree with T.I. on that. The only thing that confuses me just a little bit is when T.I., it says right here, T.I., Charlemagne the God, advocate for opportunity zones. So he's talking all this about who can't afford it and how, you got to have capital gains tax. And that's all true. But again, T.I. is for this. T.I. is not mad. He's out there actively advocating for it. T.I. is advocating for more opportunity zones. All right. It don't say that T.I. is advocating to have opportunity zones legislated to where poor people could get them or get grants or get loans, or changing the structure of opportunity zones so everybody could equally have opportunity at benefiting from these opportunity zones. All he did was go ask for more opportunity zones. But when he get in front of a crowd of adoring people, he's going to tell you everything wrong with it. But he's benefiting from it. He's telling them everything that's wrong with it, but he's advocating for more. How does that make sense? He is advocating for more. Go read this, you guys. It's The Hill. T.I., Charlemagne the God, advocate for opportunity zones. And I read this. Nowhere in here does it say that they're advocating to make opportunity zones an equal process for everybody to equitably benefit. Look, they're just extending opportunity zones. They wanted more. They like, hey, and look, and when they were talking to them, they kind of changed it up, saying that this is good for everybody. But then when he's over here talking to these people, he just say, it's only good for rich people. So which one is it? Is it good for everybody, or is it only good for rich people? And if it's only good for rich people and it harms your people, why is it okay for you to do it? Why is it okay for you to do it?
We'll
All of
address
the
it.
things
T.I.,
that you
I love
spoke
it.
on, from opportunity zones.
I love that
to-
we're talking about white supremacy.
Okay,
I'll
excuse
answer
me.
the question.
I say, excuse me. I didn't interrupt you. If I may. You talking about opportunity zones, and I will never have anything negative to say about the financial benefits, the tax breaks that come from the Republican Party. I'm a rich person, and
You
I
white folk
appreciate.
rich.
You dig what I'm saying?
I'm Negro rich.
Hey, listen. I appreciate all of the different tax breaks and the opportunity zone benefits.
Okay? He appreciates all that. He appreciates the tax breaks that harm the people that he say he's advocating for. He appreciates the opportunity zones that he later goes on to say aren't equitable because only rich people essentially can afford them. So which one is it? Which one is it? All this stuff is as backwards as that Gucci protest. It's as backwards as a 3-month Gucci protest where you tell people to protest a company who isn't really a company. They're just a name who's a subsidiary of a larger company who has other luxury brands. So people stop buying that luxury brand and go buy other luxury brands who are owned by the same company. Kering, the same company in which owns Puma. So when you told you to ban Gucci, if you're still buying Puma, you're still helping Kering, which means you're still helping Gucci. No difference. It's just half-cocked stuff to say. It's just half-cocked stuff to say. So look, you guys, hey, it's much love. Again, I'm not here. This ain't hate. I'm not hating on the man. It is what it is. Sometimes it is what it is. And I like people to be aware of who and what they are dealing with. All right. So if we have somebody who is out here for the people and we giving them this mantle as a leader, let's at least just make sure that that person is qualified to lead or is doing the job in which they should be doing. Again, maybe he should be out using his power to get somebody to listen to somebody else who actually knows what they're talking about. Who actually knows what they're talking about. He was talking about how blacks are doing so much better now than back in the past. But I think you got to look at that contextually. If we're talking about the finances of black people, that is not true. It's not nearly true. So, all right, you guys, I'm done bumping my gums. If you guys can share this. Hey, say what you want to say. Throw your tomatoes. I'm going to duck them. I'm going to dodge them. I'm going to duck them. I'm going to dodge them. Been dodging tomatoes since 2018. Been saying how I feel since 1982. But now in this new era, they just get mad. And like I said, I made a post a long time ago, about a year ago, saying that I think that T.I. and a lot of these people who act like they can't stand Donald Trump benefits from his policies. So they'll tell you how much they dislike him, but they won't tell you how much they benefit. And people went ham on me. They went hamster. They went in, Flynn. But now T.I. has said it themselves. I hope that you guys will backtrack just a little bit and just put it in context of what it really should be. Is everybody who's out here advocating for black people really for black people? Because I mean, or is it okay to be 50-50? You're for black people with some things and you're not with black people for others, because he's a very loud advocate for black people, but he loves those tax cuts that hurt the same people he's advocating for. My name is Tyrone Irvin. This has been Soapbox Heroes. Much love, you guys. Hey, peace. Hey, and no. Before I say peace, you guys come over here. Look, where's that thing at? Hit the like. Leave a couple comments, subscribe, and share. And look, when you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we do it big around here. Soapbox Heroes Network. My name is Tyrone Irvin. Once again, my friend, I'm out.